Alright, so this video that I'm going to be doing today is me discussing a life insurance policy, specifically a IUL. The difference between this IUL that I'm going to be showing you today, the illustration I'm going to be showing you, is that this illustration is for an IUL for a child. More importantly, for my child, my daughter. The reason I decided to talk about this specific illustration, this specific policy, is because when you compare a child's policy, a child's IUL, in comparison to an adult IUL, a child's IUL policy will always drastically overperform, or in most cases, drastically overperform an adult IUL policy. And the reason for that is because of their age. That's thing one. They're much younger, and their risk is much lower. So that's thing one. There are no health concerns, or typically none. And again, that drastically lowers the risk as well. But it's also the amount of time that the policy has to build wealth, compound its wealth. That's exactly the case here. Now, my wife and I, we have IULs. We have one for our daughter. Our daughter's IUL, we pay $200 a month into it. And when you compare her $200 a month IUL to my wife's $1,000 a month IUL, or my $600 a month IUL, our daughter's $200 a month IUL outperforms those other two. Not only does it outperform those other two individually, it outperforms the other two together. That one single $200 a month IUL outperforms the other $1,000 IUL and the other $600 IUL. Think about that. Because of the fact that we got our IULs, my wife and myself, we got our IULs later in life, in our 40s, and we got hers, our daughter's, while she was 10 years old. And so her IUL just has that much time to build wealth over the next God knows how many decades. And because she's young, and because she doesn't have any health concerns, it has little risk, and it can build wealth a lot sooner than the other two put together. So this is what I wanted to show you in this video. I wanted to show you this illustration, and the illustration is a breakdown of the IUL policy itself. We are paying $200 a month. There are other ways to max accumulate a IUL, meaning to put the most amount that you can put into an IUL to have it build cash value, and do it, put the maximum amount and still fly under the IRS radar so that you don't get taxed on that money. Here on this IUL, on our daughter's $200 a month IUL, we're not contributing it to it in the maximum amount. We can, and we do plan on it at a later time, but we're not currently. We're only paying $200 a month into it. But even at $200 a month, it's important that you can see what it can do years down the line. So this is the first page, her IULs through FNG, and her IUL policy is going to start with a face amount, meaning a death benefit of $326,402. And as you can see, she's a female, age 10. Obviously, she's non-tobacco. That's her classification. She obviously doesn't smoke. But the more important thing that I wanted you to know about, there's going to be certain areas that I'm going to be talking about. Just how much is going to be contributed to her policy. All right, so again, from day one, from the moment that she gets her policy, she has a $326,000 death benefit. Right here. This is a face amount. We're paying $200 a month. Now, if, let's say, God forbid, later down the money was tight or we couldn't pay the $200 a month, this amount here, $47.33, is the minimum that we have to pay per month to keep that policy from lapsing. $47.33. Now, we're paying $200 a month, but the crazy thing is, at $200 a month per month for an entire year, $2,400 is what we're going to be paying into it per year, correct? So the cool thing about it is that the max that we can pay into it per year is this amount here, $12,220. Meaning that if we actually wanted to fund it even more without getting close to that MEC amount, MEC is, in simple terms, once your policy reaches that amount that you've overfunded it or starting to get close to overfunding it, that's when the IRS starts taxing you on your IUL. If you contribute under that amount, under that MEC amount, the money is tax-free. So even if I wanted to add another $2,500, $5,000 or whatever, even more than that, I can, so long as I stay under this amount per year, contributing under this amount per year, I can overfund this policy and get much better numbers than what this IUL policy is currently doing. I'm not currently contributing the max into this policy yet. We're not doing that yet because we do have two other policies that we're paying into in between all three. It's relatively close to $2,000 a month. So we're trying to fly under the radar and not spend too much a month on life insurance policies. But at $200 a month, you're going to notice that it still outperforms the other two life insurance policies. All right, so on this page here, we're going to talk about the assumptions, meaning how much money the IUL policy at $200 a month can accumulate over the next 5, 10, 20 years, okay? So these are guaranteed assumptions here. You have guaranteed assumptions, and then these are non-guaranteed assumptions. Non-guaranteed alternate assumptions, non-guaranteed midpoint assumptions, and then non-guaranteed current assumptions. These are guaranteed, meaning the money is being placed into that's going to help this policy build cash accumulation value. Only gathered enough guaranteed interest of 0.25. This is what she would have at the age of 15. She would have $7,437 with a death benefit of $326,000 at the age of 20. 10 years from now, the age of 20, at $200 a month. This is where she would be guaranteed to have $15,000. Keep in mind, this is only if it gained 0.25 interest. And then lastly, at the age of 30, 20 years from now, guaranteed assumptions are $32,843 with a benefit of $326,000. Now, then you start going into what the non-guaranteed are. Now, keep in mind that the way that the interests currently is on the S&P 500, these are the amounts that she's most likely going to be getting. Not these. The reason that the insurance carrier says that these are guaranteed is because this is what they can guarantee you is definitely going to happen if for the next 5, 10, 20 years the S&P 500 underperforms and it only gains 0.25% interest. That's never happened. It's never going to happen for 5, 10, 20 years. If you look at the S&P 500, the numbers that the policy is going to be accumulating in regards to interest are more towards this column here, the surrender value on the non-guaranteed current assumptions. Okay, so if for the next 5 years if we're funding the IUL policy at $200 a month, this is where she would be at the age of 15. That's how much money she would have at 15. I don't know about you, but I don't know any 15-year-olds that would have nearly $10,000, even if you put a certain amount away from them. I don't think that they would even be anywhere near that. This is where she would be at 20 years old. She would have $24,743, and at 30 years old, she would have $81,497. Now, keep in mind that at this point, at 30 years old, she will have had the policy for 20 years, and at that point, at $200 a month for 20 years, only $48,000 has been contributed to the policy itself. Meaning we've only paid $48,000, but look at the return that she's going to have, $81,497. There's no savings account out there that will be able to accumulate that much money in 20 years. None. All right, so this page specifically, again, this one does a little bit more of a deep dive. These are the guaranteed and the non-guaranteed alternate assumptions at the interest rate of 4.75, and then this was the interest rate at 6.13. Now, there might be a likelihood that this interest rate, the gains that she's going to have, are going to be higher than 6.13, but on average, on how the S&P 500 has performed within the last 10 years, this is a fair percentage, a fair amount on how this IUL policy is going to be performing. Now, 10 years from now, we will have spent $24,000 put $24,000 into this policy. That's how much, at $200 a month for 10 years, that's how much money we will have put into the policy. Now, keep in mind, we are not funding max accumulation value funding this policy yet. It's only at $243. If we were to surrender this policy 10 years from now, that's how much you would have, just a little bit more than what we spent. Okay, now keep in mind, we can fund this policy a little bit more, a lot of it more actually, and we plan on it, but the way we're currently funding it, we're kind of underfunding it. And we can underfund it even more if we wanted to, but we want to keep it at the $200 level, at least right now. Now, 20 years from now, when she's 30 years old, we will have spent $48,000 on her policy, and look at how much money she will have accumulated by the age of 30, $81,497. She will still have a death benefit of $326,402. Now, let's say 30 years from now, she's now 40. We will have spent $72,000, or paid into the policy $72,000. That's $200 a month at 30 years. She will have $196,000 on her life insurance policy with a $491,000 death benefit. Now let's scroll a little bit further into her retirement years. Here's still not into her retirement years, but she's now 50. She's had this policy for 40 years. She's paid into the policy $96,000. That's $200 a month for 40 years equals $96,000. That's how much money she's paid into the policy. Look at her death benefit now, $429,000 with her life insurance policy. This is her cash surrender value, rather, not her death benefit. Her death benefit now is $820,000. Her cash surrender value, this is how much money she actually has on her policy, $429,000 with a death benefit of $820,000. Now, the age of 60, she's had the policy for 50 years, $200 a month, times 50 years is $120,000. She now has a cash accumulated value of $902,000 with a death benefit of $1.2 million. Lastly, I can keep going, but let's say 65. This is when she decides to retire. She's had the policy for 55 years, $200 a month, and I think at $200 a month, at 55 years, I think she's paid roughly $138,000. I want to say $138,000 roughly into the policy. She has $1.2 million cash accumulated value with a $1.5 million death benefit. There is no savings plan or savings account for any bank, I don't care what bank you get, that will be able to save $1.2 million if you're putting $200 a month into it for 55 years. None. There's no savings account that will be able to give you that. I don't even think, once you start getting down to actual numbers, I don't even think there's a 401k. There's definitely not a 401k that will be able to give you this, but I don't even think there's a Roth IRA that can perform this well. Not to mention, there is no savings account, no 401k, no Roth IRA that will have a death benefit included. I mean, this is a life insurance policy first. It's important that you understand that. This is a life insurance policy that has a cash accumulation value tied to it, meaning you can overfund the policy, you can overfund it, and by overfunding it, you can have this type of performance with your life insurance policy. So not only do you get this type of policy, this type of retirement income, but you still have a death benefit just in case anything were to happen to you. Name one savings account that does that. None of them do. None of them will perform this well, and none of them will ever, not a savings, not a 401k, not a Roth IRA, will ever have a death benefit tied to it. This is how a child's IUL performs, because you started early, you locked in those rates, and this is what it can do and how it can perform for the next 55 years. I mean, she would have a really good retirement with that much money saved. And keep in mind, it can keep going, but if she wanted to retire at 65, that's where she would be. But anyways, if this type of content is of value to you, or if you'd like to discuss IUL policies, not only just for a child, but an IUL policy for yourself, feel free to contact me. All my contact info is below on the description. We can figure out what options are best for you. An IUL policy is not for everyone. It's important you understand that. IUL policies are not for everyone. They are for those that see the value in a life insurance policy that has a cash accumulation value, and they're able to contribute to it so that they can build that cash value. Pretty crazy, right? Tell me any savings account that does that, any Roth IRA that does that, any 401k that does that. None of those even have a death benefit. Like, subscribe, share if you like this type of content. Thank you.